Okay, so let's have a look at how to sketch linear equations applying the knowledge we've learned in the previous algebra videos. So as an opening question, let's ask, what is the general form of a linear equation? So when we talk about linear equations in this context, what we're going to mean is something of the form y equals mx plus b. So for example, y equals 3x plus 1 will be a linear equation. Y equals 2x minus 5 will be a linear equation. Or y equals 1 minus x, for example. Something that's not a linear equation would be something like y equals 3x squared, because we have a power of 2. Or maybe y equals square root of x, because that's x to the power of a half. So the general shape of the graph will be something like this. So here's a graph of y equals x plus 2. So here we have the y-axis and the x-axis. And when we sketch a linear equation, the easiest way to do it is to simply calculate the x-intercept and to calculate the y-intercept. That determines the graph entirely. If you draw 2 points, such as the x-intercept and the y-intercept, then the line is determined entirely by those 2 points. So in this case, we calculate the y-intercept by setting, the x-intercept by setting y equal to 0. And if we do that, what we'll find is that 0 equals x plus 2. And then using our knowledge from the previous videos, we know that x equals minus 2. So the coordinates of this x-intercept are minus 2, 0. The minus 2 gives us the information for the x value, while the second coordinate tells us the y value. Okay, so for the y-intercept, we have a similar thing. We set x equal to 0, and if we do that, it's very easy to see that we just get y equals 2. So the coordinates here will be 0, 2. Okay, so let's try a concrete example. Let's look at sketching y equals x plus 1. So the y-intercept occurs when x equals 0. So we see that y equals 0 plus 1, which equals 1. So the coordinate for the y-intercept is 0, 1. If we want the x-intercept, then what we'll do is we'll set y equal to 0. And then we see that 0 equals x plus 1. And that tells us that x equals minus 1. So the coordinates of the x-intercept are minus 1, 0. So now we just need to put these 2 coordinates on our Cartesian plane. So we have minus 1, 0 for the x-intercept and 1, 0 for the y-intercept. Let's draw a line between them. So we can do something like this, and we'll extend it in that way. And this will be the graph. We probably should label our axes just for good luck. So we'll write y and x here. And this is the graph of y equals x plus 1. Okay, let's look at a little more challenging example. So we have y equals 2x minus 3. The y-intercept occurs when x equals 0. So we see that y equals 2 times 0 minus 3. So y is minus 3. And the x-intercept occurs when y equals 0. So we'll have 2x minus 3 equals 0. So 2x equals 3. And x equals 3 over 2. Okay, so the y-intercept occurs at 3 over 2, which is, let's say, the x-intercept occurs at 3 over 2. y-intercept occurs at -3. So we'll have something like this. And now we can simply draw the line. So it'll look maybe something like this. Notice that this curve is steeper than this one. This is because the gradient, so this m term in the form mx plus b, this is what we call the gradient. While this b term will give us the y-intercept at all times. So the gradient is the extent to which the curve is steep, so it represents the slope. And this has a slope of 1. Slope of 1. While here we have a slope of 2. Okay, so let's look at another example. Here we have sketch y equals 1 minus 1/2 x. So the y-intercept occurs when x equals 0. So we find that y equals 1. And the x-intercept occurs when y equals 0. And so what we'll have is 0 equals 1 minus 1/2 x. So 1/2 x equals 1. And remember, to get rid of this fraction, we just flip it and multiply. And what we end up with is x equals 2. So let's put, so 1's probably there, so let's put 2 here. And y equals 1 is about there. And we can draw our line like that. And here we notice the slope is negative, and so the curve goes down. So here we have a m is equal to minus 1/2, while b is equal to 1. So they're very simple to sketch. You just need to have the other videos, the content from the other videos down, and it's just a matter of solving two basic linear equations. As always, be sure to check the video description for the tute notes, which have practice problems, and the video description also has the cheat notes, which have fully worked solutions and answers. And be sure to like and subscribe for more content of this form.